Welcome friends to another exciting and engaging journey into the world of rare and valuable coins where small details can turn an ordinary looking piece of metal into a treasure worth life-changing amounts. And today we are going to dive deep into the story of the 1975 one-penny USA coin that has shocked collectors and experts by being valued at an astonishing $0.87 million, which is a number so far removed from its humble face value that people often find it hard to believe until they hear the full explanation and understand the range of minting errors, striking mistakes, variations in mint marks, and the unpredictable possibilities that have contributed to making this coin one of the most desirable rarities in the history of American numismatics. And to really appreciate the value of this coin, we must start by acknowledging that the year 1975 was an important period in the production of US coinage. The US Mint was producing billions of coins annually to keep up with the needs of circulation, and in that massive process of high-speed minting it was inevitable that occasional mistakes would slip through, but when those mistakes happen under the right set of circumstances they create something so unique that collectors around the world will pay fortunes to own it. And the 1975 penny stands as a perfect example of this phenomenon because while most people look at it and see just another Lincoln cent made of copper-plated material, the trained eye can identify variations that elevate it into legendary status. So let's explore why this tiny coin is worth more than luxury houses, expensive cars, or even some businesses, starting with the background of the Lincoln cent, which has been in production since 1909 when it was first introduced to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. And by 1975 the Lincoln penny had already gone through numerous changes in composition, mint marks, and design adjustments, but the production that year was particularly prone to certain errors due to a transition in equipment and mint mark application techniques, so in some cases coins were struck with doubled images known as double die errors, where the design elements like the date or the word liberty appear stamped twice slightly off alignment, which creates a shadow-like effect visible to collectors. And a genuine double die error on a 1975 penny can skyrocket its value because it is incredibly rare and each piece is essentially one of a kind, but that is just one aspect of why this coin can be worth up to $0.87 million. Another major factor is the mint mark error, since during this era mint marks were applied manually to the die by hand, which meant every die used to strike pennies could potentially have small differences, and on rare occasions the mint mark was punched more than once or in the wrong location or even omitted completely, leading to varieties like no mint mark when there should be one, or overlapping mint marks such as a D over S or S over D variety, and these coins immediately catch the attention of collectors because they represent a tangible piece of minting history and human error frozen in metal. Furthermore, another factor that enhances the value of some 1975 pennies is off-center strikes, where the coin was not perfectly aligned during the minting process, so only part of the design is struck while the rest remains blank or incomplete, which in extreme cases creates coins that are half blank and half struck, making them visually striking and immensely collectible. And when a 1975 penny combines two or more of these errors, such as a double die with a mint mark mistake and an off-center strike, the rarity and uniqueness multiplies dramatically, pushing its value from thousands into hundreds of thousands and even approaching nearly $1 million as collectors bid fiercely to add such a specimen to their collection. And while it might sound unbelievable that a coin made to be worth only 1 cent could command $0.87 million in auctions, the truth is that numismatic markets thrive on rarity, uniqueness, and historical significance, and the 1975 penny checks all those boxes with its errors, mint mark anomalies, and mistake-driven variations that make it an irreplaceable artifact. But beyond the technical minting reasons, there is also the human fascination with the idea that something so ordinary can hold extraordinary value, and that sense of wonder fuels bidding wars, record-breaking prices, and endless discussions among coin enthusiasts, investors, and historians who all see the 1975 penny not just as a coin but as a piece of American history preserved by accident. And to give you perspective on how collectors view this coin, imagine holding a penny in your hand that looks ordinary at first glance but upon closer inspection reveals an error unseen in most other examples. Suddenly you are not just holding a coin, you are holding a one-of-a-kind artifact that represents the imperfections of human craftsmanship in an era before advanced computerized systems could eliminate such errors, and collectors understand that the rarity of these pieces will only increase with time because most pennies from 1975 were spent, worn down, melted, or lost, leaving only a handful of error coins in pristine or high-grade condition. And when those rare survivors surface, they attract massive attention from auction houses and wealthy collectors who see them as both an investment and a legacy piece. And It is this dynamic of scarcity, error-driven uniqueness, and historical context that explains how a 1975 penny can be appraised and sold for $0.87 million. But what makes it even more interesting is that ordinary people still occasionally stumble upon these coins in old jars, inherited collections, or forgotten boxes, meaning that the dream of finding such a treasure in your change is not entirely impossible, and that dream keeps the excitement alive in the numismatic world where stories of life-changing finds continue to inspire new collectors to pay closer attention to the pennies they handle daily. So whether it is a double die error where the details seem doubled, a mint mark anomaly where the expected letter is missing or misstamped, an off-center strike that creates a visually stunning misaligned coin, or even a rare planchette error where the wrong metal was used accidentally, each of these factors alone could raise the value of a 1975 penny to thousands, but when combined, they transform it into the legendary coin that has reached the value of $0.87 million, making it one of the most famous rarities in US coinage history and reminding us all that the smallest details can hold the biggest rewards in the fascinating world of coins. Where today we will explore one of the most fascinating and jaw-dropping stories in the world of rare coins, a story that revolves around the humble 1982 one-penny USA coin that in certain cases has been valued at an astounding $90,000, or about $0.90 million, which is unimaginably higher than its tiny face value of just 1 cent. And this incredible increase in value all comes down to the unique errors, mistakes, mint mark anomalies, transitional varieties, and other striking possibilities that occurred during that period in American coin production, making the 1982 penny one of the most talked about coins among collectors, investors, historians, and ordinary people who simply find themselves intrigued by how something so small and seemingly insignificant could hold such a monumental value. And to truly understand why the 1982 penny is so special, we must go back to the year itself, a transitional year in the history of the United States Mint, when important changes were happening in how the penny was manufactured, because prior to 1982 pennies had traditionally been struck from a composition that consisted mostly of copper, specifically 95% copper and 5% zinc. But due to rising copper prices and the fact that the cost of producing a penny was beginning to exceed its actual face value, the mint decided to make a major change and switch over to a new composition that would be primarily zinc with just a thin copper plating. So 1982 stands out as a unique year in that both types of pennies were produced, the heavy copper ones and the lighter zinc-based ones, and this created a perfect storm for varieties, errors, and transitional issues that today drive collectors wild and push certain examples to incredibly high values, with one particular specimen gaining headlines and capturing the imagination by selling for $900,000 at auction, a staggering sum that shocks people. Because how can a 1-cent piece be worth nearly $1 million? And the answer lies not just in its rarity but in the combination of errors, mint mark oddities, striking mistakes, and the mystery surrounding certain 1982 Lincoln pennies. And for starters, the 1982 penny is famous for having both large date and small date varieties in addition to the two different compositions of copper and zinc, which alone creates multiple categories for collectors to pursue. And when you add in the potential for mistakes where the wrong planchette or wrong die might have been used, or where a mint mark might appear misplaced, doubled, faint, or even completely missing, the number of possibilities for unusual and highly desirable coins multiplies, creating opportunities for certain examples to become legendary. And indeed, the coin that reached such a high value is reported to have been a unique blend of these anomalies, a transitional error with a rare composition paired with a mint mark oddity that sets it apart from all the rest. And when such a coin surfaces at an auction, it sparks fierce bidding wars among passionate numismatists who are willing to pay extraordinary sums for the chance to own something that is truly one of a kind, because in the coin collecting world, rarity plus condition plus demand equals astronomical value, and the 1982 penny checks all those boxes when the right combination of mistakes occurs. And one of the main reasons this particular coin reached $90,000 is that collectors recognize the historical importance of the year, the technical challenge of producing coins during that transition, and the sheer improbability of such an error slipping through the rigorous quality control of the United States Mint, meaning that owning such a coin is not just about the physical piece of metal but about holding a story, a tangible fragment of history that tells us about the economic pressures, the technological changes, and the human errors that defined American coinage at that moment. And people love stories, they love tangible links to history. And that is why the market value can skyrocket far beyond the melt value of the metal itself. because in pure copper terms or zinc terms the penny is practically worthless, but as a unique artifact with a combination of rare features it becomes priceless in the eyes of collectors. And to dive deeper, let us consider the possibilities of errors that can make a 1982 penny extraordinary, such as a double die error where the image or lettering appears doubled due to misalignment during the die making process, or a die crack that leaves unusual raised lines on the coin's surface, or an off-center strike that leaves the coin misaligned and incomplete, or a wrong planchette error where a penny is mistakenly struck on a foreign coin's blank or even on the wrong denomination planchette such as a dime blank. And while such errors are always desirable in any year, they become even more valuable when they appear in a transitional year like 1982, where collectors already prize the different varieties. And then there are mint mark anomalies, because in 1982 pennies were minted in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, with mint marks playing a crucial role in identification, and sometimes a mint mark may be missing, faint, repunched, or mislocated. And each of these variations can create its own subset of rarities that collectors love, and when you combine a rare composition such as a copper large date penny with a mint mark anomaly and perhaps an additional error like a double die, you create a super rarity, the kind of coin that becomes a legend. And it is precisely this sort of combination that can push a 1-cent coin into the stratosphere of value, so much so that we now have records of one 1982 penny commanding about $90,000, which serves as both inspiration and motivation for coin hunters everywhere to check their pocket change, their old jars of coins, and their inherited collections, because you never know when a small coppery disc could turn out to be a fortune. And beyond the sheer financial aspect there is also the wonder and excitement of discovery, the thrill of realizing that history can hide in the most ordinary objects, that a coin you might pass over without a thought could actually be the key to unimaginable wealth. And that is why the story of the 1982 penny continues to captivate people across the world, because it blurs the line between the everyday and the extraordinary, showing us that treasures do exist in plain sight, waiting to be recognized. And while not every 1982 penny is worth a fortune, it is still valuable for collectors to learn how to distinguish between copper and zinc versions, to identify large and small dates, to examine mint marks closely, and to familiarize themselves with common error patterns, because in doing so they equip themselves with the knowledge to recognize when they might have something truly special. And for anyone holding onto a collection or stumbling across old coins in circulation, the lesson of the 1982 penny is clear: always look closely. Always pay attention, because the difference between a 1-cent piece and a $900,000 rarity lies in the smallest of details, details that the trained eye can see and that the collector's heart can appreciate. And the story also highlights the broader truth that in numismatics value is not dictated solely by metal content or face value but by history, rarity, error, demand, and the narratives that coins carry with them. So as we wrap up our exploration of the legendary 1982 penny worth $90 million, we hope you not only appreciate the financial marvel but also the historical and cultural richness that this coin embodies, reminding us that sometimes the most valuable treasures are the ones hiding in the most ordinary places, waiting patiently for someone with curiosity and knowledge to discover their true worth. And that is the magic of coin collecting, the reason why people dedicate their lives to studying, searching, and preserving coins. Because each piece holds a story, and in rare cases like the 1982 penny, that story is worth nearly $1 million. Everyone to this exciting journey into the fascinating world of rare coins where tiny pieces of metal can hold stories, mysteries, and fortunes far beyond their face value. And today we are diving deep into one of the most astonishing examples of how an ordinary-looking coin, 1984 D1 penny from the United States, a coin that most people would assume to be worth only a cent, has been reported in rare cases to reach astonishing values as high as $0.87 million due to the incredible rarity of errors, mistakes, and mint mark anomalies that make it stand out as an extraordinary treasure in the coin collecting world. And to truly appreciate this, we must understand the rich background of the Lincoln cent, which has been produced since 1909 to honor President Abraham Lincoln, and over the decades it has gone through changes in design, metal composition, and minting techniques. And among these changes, certain years and certain mint marks have produced errors that collectors consider priceless. And when we talk specifically about the 1984 D penny, we are looking at a coin minted in Denver during a time when the US Mint was producing billions of coins per year, which might make one assume that no single piece could possibly stand out. Yet the truth is, the more coins produced, the more chances exist for mistakes to slip through the cracks and reach circulation. And mistakes in minting can come in many forms, such as double dies, Off-center strikes, wrong planches, die cracks, repunched mint marks, filled dies, clipped planches, or even transitional errors where the coin ends up being struck on a different metal than it was supposed to be, and each of these errors can dramatically increase the desirability and therefore the value of the coin. So when collectors discovered certain 1984 D pennies with unique and dramatic anomalies, it became clear that this was no ordinary cent, and suddenly a piece that could have easily been passed in change for a gumball became a potential fortune, and the story of the 1984 D penny worth up to $0.87 million lies in this world of error coins, where collectors are constantly searching and paying astonishing amounts for coins that represent these 1 in a billion accidents, and among the most notable features in this year and mint are examples with double die errors, especially on the obverse side, where the portrait of Lincoln shows doubling on his ear or eye, and such errors can be confirmed under magnification, but even without specialized tools many are visible to the naked eye, making them very exciting to find. And another type of valuable error comes from mint mark irregularities, because the Denver Mint used the D mint mark, and in the 1980s these were still punched into dies by hand, meaning human error could create variations such as repunched mint marks, misplaced mint marks, or oddly shaped impressions, all of which now attract intense interest. And then there are possibilities of coins struck on wrong planches, such as a penny being struck on a dime planchet or foreign coin blank, which creates a unique weight and appearance, instantly making the piece unique. And with the 1984 D penny there are reports of dramatic off-metal strikes and transitional compositions, meaning a penny could appear lighter or different in color because of being struck on zinc, bronze, or another incorrect material, and collectors value these tremendously. And when all these errors are combined with the historical context and the sheer fascination people have with discovering value where it is least expected, it explains why a tiny coin like the 1984 D penny could be valued at $0.87 million in auctions or private sales, because rarity, uniqueness, and demand collide to create extraordinary worth. And it is important to note that in the coin collecting world the grade and condition of a coin plays a critical role, meaning if an error coin is found in uncirculated or mint state condition, its value skyrockets even higher, while heavily worn examples might still be rare but will not command the same record-breaking prices. So those lucky enough to discover a pristine era 1984 D penny could be sitting on a life-changing fortune. And what makes this story so engaging is that millions of people still have old pennies sitting in jars, drawers, and boxes without realizing that among them might be one of these ultra-rare treasures. And stories like the 1984 D penny keep collectors and even casual hobbyists constantly checking their change and examining every cent they come across, because the dream of finding a penny worth hundreds of thousands or even nearly $1 million is irresistible. And it is not only about money but also about the thrill of the hunt, the joy of discovering history in your hand, and the satisfaction of learning about the minting process and how tiny mistakes made decades ago can ripple through time to create excitement today. And when we zoom out and look at the broader context of Lincoln cents, we find that certain other years such as the 1943 copper cent or the 1955 double die cent have achieved legendary status, selling for hundreds of thousands or even over $1 million, and the 1984 D penny with its rare errors now joins that elite group of coins that transform everyday objects into priceless collectibles. And one reason such high valuations exist is the competition among advanced collectors who want to complete sets or acquire the finest known examples, and when only a handful or even a single specimen exists, the bidding wars can push the price to astronomical levels, which explains the reports of the 1984 D penny selling or being valued at up to $0.87 million, a number that might seem unbelievable until you understand the dynamics of rarity and demand in numismatics. And for anyone watching this who wonders whether they might have such a coin, it is worth taking a careful look at your 1984 D pennies, examining Lincoln's ear for signs of doubling, checking the mint mark for repunching or displacement, weighing the coin to see if it matches the standard 2.5 grams for copper-plated zinc or the earlier 3.11 grams for bronze, which by 1984 was no longer used, but sometimes transitional planches slip through, and any deviation could indicate an error coin worth investigating. And collectors often use magnifying glasses, coin microscopes, and precise digital scales to identify such anomalies. And if you believe you have found something unusual, the next step is to have it authenticated and graded by a reputable service such as PCGS or NGC, because professional certification is what allows a coin to realize its full market value. since buyers need confidence that the piece is genuine and the error is real, and stories of people discovering such coins in their pocket change or family collections are what keep the excitement alive, because the idea that you could be holding a penny worth nearly $1 million is not just a fantasy but a documented reality in rare cases, and that is why this 1984 D penny has become such a hot topic in the coin community, inspiring both beginners and seasoned numismatists to re-examine their collections and stay alert for hidden treasures. And while not every 1984 D penny is worth a fortune, the possibility that one could be among them adds a sense of mystery and adventure to everyday life, reminding us that value is not always obvious, and sometimes the smallest overlooked objects carry the greatest surprises. And this is the essence of coin collecting, where history, art, economics, and human curiosity all meet in the palm of your hand. And with that understanding, it becomes clear why the 1984 D1 penny can be worth $0.87 million, not because of its metal content or face value but because of the rare mistakes, the human errors, and the quirks of the minting process that turned it from an ordinary coin into an extraordinary treasure that continues to capture imaginations and fuel the dreams of collectors around the world. Where we dive deep into the fascinating world of rare coins, and today we are going to explore one of the most surprising and intriguing stories in numismatics, the incredible tale of the 1993 D1 penny coin from the United States of America that has gained immense attention and become valued at a staggering $0.52 million, an amount that is unimaginable compared to its face value of just 1 cent. And in this journey we will uncover why a small copper-coated zinc penny minted in Denver in 1993 has been transformed from a simple piece of everyday change into a treasure that collectors and enthusiasts around the world dream of owning, because when it comes to coins it is not just about the denomination or the year but also the mysteries, the minting errors, the mistakes, and the rare possibilities that elevate a coin from being ordinary to extraordinary. And in this particular case, the 1993 D penny carries with it a series of unique traits and characteristics that make it so valuable. Beginning with the mint mark itself, as the Denver Mint where these coins were struck has a history of producing certain pieces with errors, and these mint mark anomalies can drastically change the desirability of a coin. Sometimes the D is doubled, misplaced, struck too faintly, or shows signs of repunching, which means it was punched more than once by the minting equipment, and these small differences are what make collectors scramble, because a coin with a visible mint mark error can be worth thousands, tens of thousands, or in the rarest cases hundreds of thousands of dollars. And in the case of the 1993 D penny, the story revolves around a combination of errors that includes not just a mint mark anomaly but also die errors, planchette issues, and strike mistakes. And when all these rare features come together in a single coin, it elevates its worth to astronomical levels. Because think about it, millions of 1993 D pennies were struck for circulation and people used them every day in shops and stores without giving them a second thought. But among those countless ordinary coins there exist a handful of extraordinary examples where something went wrong during production, and instead of being discarded or corrected, the flawed pieces were released into circulation, becoming hidden treasures in pockets and purses for decades until sharp-eyed collectors identified them. And that is the beauty of coin collecting, the fact that 1 cent could actually hide a fortune if it happens to be one of these unique varieties. Now let us dig deeper into what kind of errors can turn a penny into a $500,000 marvel. First, we have double die errors, which occur when the design on the die shifts slightly between strikes, creating an image that looks double to the naked eye. And in the 1993 D penny there are examples of doubling on the lettering, the date, or even Lincoln's profile itself. And if you find one of these, the value skyrockets because double die coins are highly desirable. Then there are off-center strikes where the coin is not aligned correctly during the striking process, resulting in a design that is noticeably off balance. Sometimes only part of Lincoln's face appears and the rest is blank planchette. And the more dramatic the misalignment, the rarer and more valuable the coin becomes. And in addition to that, there are broad strikes, clipped planchets, and coins struck on the wrong metal, which are all incredibly valuable errors. For example, if a 1993 D penny was accidentally struck on a copper planchette instead of the intended copper-plated zinc, the weight would be different and collectors would fight to own it because only a tiny handful could ever exist. And the mint mark error on this coin adds another layer of intrigue, as some examples show repunched mint marks where you can see the faint outline of a previous D beneath the current one, while others display weak strikes where the D is barely visible. And such unusual features make the coin far more desirable to specialists who catalog and hunt these varieties. But what makes this particular 1993 D penny so captivating is the combination of multiple rare traits in one coin. and that is why it has been valued at $0.52 million, an amount that seems absurd for something so small but is fully justified by the rarity, the demand, and the story behind it. And if we consider the historical context, the early 1990s were a period when the US Mint was transitioning and experimenting with technology. Quality control was not as strict as modern standards, and errors had a better chance of slipping through, which explains how such rare varieties of 1993 D pennies came into existence. And now, decades later, collectors are combing through their jars of old coins, their piggy banks, and their inherited collections, hoping to stumble upon one of these gems, because the allure of turning 1 cent into over $500,000 is irresistible, and the market for rare coins has only grown stronger over the years, with auction houses reporting record prices and bidding wars for pieces that were once considered insignificant. And in the case of the 1993 D penny, when such a coin is authenticated by professional grading services and confirmed to have the unique errors, it becomes the centerpiece of any collection and a status symbol in the numismatic world. And this demand drives the price even higher, because not only are these coins rare, but the number of wealthy collectors willing to pay top dollar is increasing, making it even harder for ordinary enthusiasts to get their hands on one. And what is truly fascinating is how many of these rare coins could still be sitting unnoticed in circulation or hidden away in drawers, which is why experts always recommend that people carefully check their change, examine the date, the mint mark, the condition, and look for anomalies, because you never know when you might be holding a fortune disguised as a penny. And the 1993 D penny story is also a lesson in attention to detail, teaching us that even the smallest imperfections can lead to incredible value when combined with historical significance and collector demand. And this is why the world of coin collecting remains endlessly exciting, because every coin has a story, and every story adds to its worth. And in conclusion, the 1993 D1 penny coin is not just a tiny piece of metal, but a symbol of how mistakes, errors, and human oversight can create treasures worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. And it reminds us that hidden in plain sight among billions of coins are the rare anomalies that ignite the passion of collectors and prove that even something as humble as a penny can become worth $0.52 million. So keep your eyes open, check your pockets, and who knows, maybe you too could discover one of these legendary coins that turn everyday change into life-changing fortune.